Hi guys, welcome back. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that's very important if you want to have a truck camper, and that is tie-downs and turnbuckles. So these are the apparatuses that actually attach your truck camper to your truck. Tie-downs are the things that are either mounted to the bed or to the frame of the truck, and turnbuckles are the thing that mount your truck camper to those tie-downs. So when I was shopping around, I came across three possible prospects to get this accomplished. One of them was Torquelift, one was Happy Jack, and one was Brophy. I'm going to talk about two of the more popular options, Torquelift and Happy Jack. First off, I'll go over the one that's been around longer, Happy Jack. It's been around for I think at least 30 years, and their tie-down system is one that actually mounts between the bed of the truck and the cab of the truck. So it's a bracket that you have to drill into the front of the bed of your truck, and then there's two pieces that extend out the side from between the cab and the bed, and that's what your turnbuckles hook into. And in the back, that's the front, and in the back you have these two things that bolt essentially into your bumper, and those are like little fixtures almost that your rear tie-downs or your rear turnbuckles hook into. So far as Torquelift, these are going to be frame-mounted tie-downs, and that means that these are bolted directly into the frame of your truck. These are a little bit different just because you don't have to usually do much drilling into your truck. Unfortunately with mine, I ended up having to do drilling just because my truck didn't really line up with my tie-downs. But that system is going to be a little bit different because you don't usually have to do the drilling. There's a couple primary differences, and I'm going to kind of walk you through what those are. But first I'm just going to take you over to look at my tie-downs. So these are my rear Torquelift tie-downs, which you guys just saw me install. And one of the main things about these that's a plus is that they don't actually mount into your bumper. They mount into your frame. So that means that you don't have to worry about, sheet metal tearing or your bumper ripping out or anything like that. Most people that have the rear Happy Jack tie-down system, they don't complain about it. They say that it works fine. They don't have their bumper ripped off or anything like that. But I went with these tie-downs just because it kind of gave me a little bit of additional peace of mind. And another thing about these is I think that they create a little bit of added stability so far as, the movement of the truck camper, because it's actually bolted directly to your frame versus, the Happy Jack, which might create a little bit more opportunity for movement. The Happy Jack tie-downs, the ones that mount between your bed and your cab, they rely on something called triangle leverage counterforce to prevent movement, and that's supposedly supposed to stop too much movement, but I still thought that these would be a little bit of a safer option and a more stable option. Now, so far as Torquelift, they have a couple different options. They have these, which are your standard tie-downs, but they also have something called the Talon tie-downs, which are made out of 100% military grade aluminum and stainless that's supposedly completely rust free, so that's another option. But again, these are just the standard ones, so I'm going to try to take care of them and make sure they don't rust too much. So far as price points for Happy Jack, you're going to be looking at least a $500 start out fee for the their tie-down system. So it's manageable. It's not a ton of money. So far as Torquelift, you're going to be looking at least $700, and these bad boys set me back more than $700. I would say it's probably closer to $850 or something like that. Plus, with all the parts and everything that I had to do to mount them on, it's definitely something that costs a little bit of money. But when it comes to something as important as mounting my house to my truck and making sure my first home doesn't go flying down the highway, I was willing to pay a little bit of extra money for my tie-downs to make sure that that didn't happen. Hey guys! Okay, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is turnbuckles. So turnbuckles are the piece of hardware that actually connect your truck camper to your tie-down. So these are Happy Jack Classic turnbuckles. That's what I decided to go with, and these are actually a used like new pair that I got from Camper ID, but as you can see, they're in really good shape. So the way that these work is, at least for the Happy Jack ones, there is a spring that's built into this barrel, and that's important because it allows your truck camper to move a little bit, and you don't want your connection to be too rigid because because if it is, when you hit bumps and when the bed of the truck flexes and everything like that, you're actually going to rip out the connection points that are in your truck camper. So that spring is really important. Happy Jack recommends that you use a front spring-loaded turnbuckle and a rear rubber dampened spring buckle. And what that means is that the rear turnbuckle actually has just like a rubber bushing inside of it that creates a little bit of movement and a little bit of flexion, but not as much as the spring-loaded ones. Torque Lift actually recommends that you have 4 spring-loaded turnbuckles. I didn't end up doing that just because of the price point, because they are a little bit more expensive, but according to a lot of the research that I've done, having the front spring-loaded and rear rubber bushing should be fine. We'll see how that works. But there are a few different options when you're getting these. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but so far as how these attach to my truck, these are designed for a Happy Jack tie-down system, which means the one where the connection point is at the bed of the truck about midway down. So these are really short, right? So the way that I'm going to connect these to my Torque Lift tie-downs is I'm going to have this piece of marine grade stainless steel chain that can hold over 3,000 pounds, and I'm going to attach that to my turnbuckle and then to my tie down. So that's the solution that I've seen a lot of people use, and hopefully it'll work for me too. The original owner actually ended up getting a longer piece of threaded hook and making his turnbuckle longer that way, and I'll show you that right now. So this is what the original owner of this truck camper had on his truck. As you can see, this is the original Happy Jack turnbuckle barrel, and then what he did was he spliced in a longer piece of the threaded hook so that it would connect from his truck camper to his Torque Lift tie downs. So I'm going to see if the chain works out better. If not, I might end up going with a similar solution. Just a couple tips about these turnbuckles. They say that you should always face the hook outward. Depending on your configuration, apparently it is possible for the hooks to scratch some people's trucks if the hook is facing inward. Another thing to do is always keep the barrel on the bottom of your Torque Lift for the front and for the rear. And this actually prevents rainwater from collecting inside of the barrel and causing some corrosion and other bad things that you don't want to happen. So always keep that barrel mounted down. So far as maintenance for these, Happy Jack says that you can wax them with automotive wax, and you should also wash them if they get dirty, you know, just with regular soap and water just to get off dirt and grime. And you can also grease the threaded hook with some synthetic grease if that is something that you want to do to maintain it. And if you hear squeaking coming from these, they say that you can also spray some lubricant down inside of the barrel when that happens, just to reduce the squeaking, although it's not going to do anything really bad to your turnbuckle. So far as the options for those, that is what we are going to go over next. Alright, so far as the options for these, there's a few that you can choose from. As I said, I got mine used for $140 off of camperid.com. Normal price point for those is going to be $150 to $170 depending on where you get them from. There's also a couple other options that make your life a little bit easier, but they do cost more money accordingly. So Happy Jack has something called a quick load turnbuckle, and Torque Lift has something called a fast gun. And what these essentially do is they make it so you don't have to twist this until it's secure or to take it off of your camper. They have it's like a handle basically that kind of remembers where you threaded this to, and then you just basically lift up or put the handle down to unhook it and hook it onto the camper. Apparently it's much faster, much easier, and people absolutely love them, but I really did not want to pay the over $300 price for these, so I went with the half price version, which is the classic one. I really don't mind, you know, a little bit of extra elbow grease to connect and disconnect my truck camper, especially since I'm planning on keeping my camper on the truck pretty much the entire time that I'm on my journey. So you can get an easier, more convenient solution for this, but again, I went with the cheaper one, just trying to be a little bit more frugal, and hopefully it will pay out for me in the long run. But thanks for this quick little explanation of your different tie downs and turnbuckles, and I hope that you enjoyed the install video for my tie downs. Please join me for my next video, and thanks again for watching, guys.